Joe Burrow combined a certain level of swagger and grittiness that captivated a nation and inspired the Bengals to reach new heights that no one could have imagined this past year. However, this is nothing new for Burrow. At every level, he's been counted out, and like clockwork, at every level, he's turned his team around. Here is the story of Joe Burrow. Joe was born in Ames, Iowa in 1996 to Robin and Jim Burrow. His father, Jim, was a defensive back at Nebraska before being drafted by the Packers in the 1976 draft. After one season in Green Bay, Jim played in the Canadian Football League for 5 seasons, where he was a 2-time All-Star. He then transitioned to coaching, and Joe was actually born while his father was coaching at Iowa State. The Burrow athletic lineage dates back nearly a century. His grandmother set a Mississippi State high school record, scoring 82 points in a basketball game in the 1940s. His grandfather played D1 basketball at Mississippi State. His uncle played D1 football at Ole Miss. His 2 older brothers played D1 football at Nebraska. So it's safe to say that sports were in Joe's blood. While Joe playing football was obviously a given, playing quarterback was not. Everybody in his family had played on the other side of the ball. His dad as a DB, his brother Jamie as a middle linebacker, and his other brother Dan as a safety. In 3rd grade, though, Joe's team didn't have a quarterback, so it was up to the coach's son to step up, and he was a natural from day one. While Joe's dad was coaching at North Dakota State in 2003, then North Dakota State offensive coordinator and future Central Michigan head coach Dan Emis apparently commented on how Joe had a future in football after watching him. The Burrows eventually settled in Athens, Ohio, as Jim was the defensive coordinator for the Ohio Bobcats from 2005 to 2018. Joe attended Athens High School, leading the football team to 3 straight playoff appearances and their first 7 playoff victories in school history. As a junior, he was named Ohio Gatorade Player of the Year and AP All-State. Even with those accolades, Joe felt like he was flying under the radar, so he slid into the Twitter DMs of a high school football recruiting analyst in Ohio. The message said, "I was wondering if there were any specific camps I should go to help get my name out there, because I'm not really getting any attention." While it's unclear what advice Burrow received, it is clear that Joe began getting more than just a little attention. As a senior, he was selected as Ohio's Mr. Football, throwing for nearly 4,500 yards and 63 touchdowns, with only 2 interceptions. In addition to dominating on the football field, Burrow also excelled on the hardwood, as he was an all-state point guard. Joe had several mid-major offers to play college basketball, but his primary focus was always football. On the gridiron, Joe was rated as a 4-star recruit and was the 8th highest-ranked dual-threat quarterback in the 2015 class. He committed to play football at Ohio State in May of 2014. Joe's time in Columbus did not get off to the fastest of starts, as he redshirted in 2015 before serving as the backup the next 2 seasons, throwing just 39 total passes. After not having gotten much of a chance to play with the Buckeyes, Burrow decided it was time for a fresh start, so he left OSU as a grad transfer. Joe actually only visited 2 schools during the transfer process, Cincinnati and LSU. Looking back now, it's pretty ironic that the Bearcats were considered. The people of Cincinnati probably wouldn't have minded getting Joey B a couple of years early, but it's safe to say everything worked out. After committing to LSU, it wasn't like Burrow was immediately handed the keys to the kingdom. Joe wasn't named the starter yet, as he had to beat out Miles Brennan in an intense competition. In his first season at Baton Rouge, Joe was about as solid as they come, throwing for 2,894 yards and 16 touchdowns with only 5 interceptions. Most importantly, he won games. Starting all 13, Burrow led the Tigers to a 10-3 record and a Fiesta Bowl win over the undefeated UCF. Burrow took that momentum from the strong season and built off it to begin his senior campaign. In a Week 2 win on the road against 9th-ranked Texas, Burrow lit up the Longhorns as he threw for 471 yards, the 2nd most in school history. By midseason, it had become clear that there was just no stopping this high-powered LSU offense led by Burrow. Joe confirmed this as he led the Tigers into Tuscaloosa to take on the 3rd-ranked Crimson Tide and hung 46 points on them while throwing for 393 yards. Joe went on to break LSU's single-season passing yards record with 2 regular season games and the entire postseason to spare. The Tigers finished the regular season undefeated before putting a 37-10 beatdown on 4th-ranked Georgia in the SEC title game, as Burrow threw for 349 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Dogs. A week later, he won college football's most prestigious award, the Heisman Trophy, with the largest victory margin in the history of the award. It should also be noted that in his speech following winning the award, Burrow shouted out the local food bank back in Athens, Ohio, as he talked about the rampant poverty and food insecurity in his hometown. The move demonstrated Joe's outstanding character and led to more than $400,000 being donated. A year later, Athens High School named their football stadium after Burrow as a token of their appreciation. Back to his accomplishments on the field, Burrow somehow managed to take his game to a whole nother level in the college football football playoffs. LSU won both games by a combined 52 points, as Joe threw for 956 yards and 12 touchdowns in the two games. As LSU cruised to a national championship, those are numbers you put up playing video games with the sliders turned down, not on college football's biggest stage. It was a fitting way to cap off a storybook senior season for Burrow. He finished the year with 5,671 passing yards and 60 passing touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Many consider it the greatest season in college football history. Having now turned around 2 different football programs at 2 different levels, it was time for Burrow to try to do it one more time in the pros. Thanks to his almost unbelievable senior season at LSU, it came as no surprise to anyone that the Cincinnati Bengals took Burrow with the first overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He was back in Ohio, and the weight of an entire city was now on his shoulders as he was asked to lead a team that was coming off a 2-14 season, hadn't had a winning season since 2015, and hadn't made it past the wild card round since 1990. In his rookie season with the Bengals, Burrow showed flashes of being the man capable of ending Cincy's suffering. He became the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to throw for 300 or more yards in 3 straight games, and became the first rookie in league history to record at least 400 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in a single game. But things took a turn for the worst. In a Week 11 matchup against the Washington football team, Burrow suffered a season-ending knee injury. The concern was much greater than his season simply being over, though. Burrow tore his ACL and MCL in his left knee, and there were worries about whether or not he would ever even be able to return to full strength. Joe attacked his rehab, just like everything else in life. His goal was to be back for Week 1 of the 2021 season, and of course, he achieved it. Still, though, there were doubts about him coming back. People questioned what condition he would be in coming back from such a serious injury. There were also questions about his ability to win games at the pro level. While Burrow put up impressive individual numbers as a rookie, the team still struggled to win games with him under center. With Joe as a starter in 2020, since he went 2-7-1. Burrow silenced these critics, and probably even turned some into fans with what he was able to do this season, as he ended all 3 of Cincy's previously mentioned streaks. Joe led the Bengals to a 10-7 record and an AFC North title. To accomplish this, Cincy needed wins in Week 16 and 17 against the Ravens and Chiefs respectively. So, what did Burrow do in those games? Well, he threw for a combined 971 yards and 8 touchdowns. Resting in Week 18 since the Bengals had already clinched a playoff berth, Joe finished the regular season playing in 16 games with 4,611 passing yards and 34 passing touchdowns, both franchise records. He also led the league in completion percentage at 70.4% and yards per pass attempt at 8.9. Burrow's magical season didn't end there, though, as he led the Bengals to a 26-19 victory over the Raiders in the wild card round, before upsetting the top-seeded Titans 19-16 on the road in the divisional round. Then, heading into a matchup against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, most people counted out Burrow and the Bengals, and even more did when they fell behind 21-3 in the first half. These people must have forgotten who Joe is. He loves being doubted and thrives when everyone else counts him out and his back is against the wall. That's why he led his team on a furious comeback as they stunned the Chiefs and almost everyone watching in a 27-24 overtime thriller. With the victory, the Bengals reached their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 23. In the process, Burrow became only the 13th different quarterback in league history to start in the big game at 25 years of age or younger, and just the 7th second-year quarterback to do so. Although Joe and his squad ended up falling just short to the Rams in the big game, they went out swinging, because that's what Burrow inspires his teams to do. If his past is any indicator of his future, he'll be back on the big stage soon enough. And if you don't believe that, well, that's just the way Joe Burrow likes it.